I'm Kimaya, and I'm here to talk to you about talking to your children about race. Race is a social construct, yes, but we live in a society where it's a real thing for all of us. Should the concept of race be destroyed? Sure, but right now, our best work that we can do is to be actively anti-racist. I decided to make this video because I'm a teacher and I have my own lived experiences with racism and also with taking care of and teaching children of all ages. Many of my friends are parents and they've been asking me for resources on how to begin the conversation with their children about race. I have so many kids in my life also that I love dearly, and I want them to live their best lives, and you being willing to talk to them about race is one of the steps that you can take to make those children's lives as enriched and wonderful as possible. So talking about race can be very scary. A lot of my friends who are parents have expressed it feels like something innocent will be destroyed in their kid, they'll be different and changed forever, like when they learn about death. But that's not true. The great thing about kids is that they will absorb what they can absorb, and what they don't understand, they will let you know. So it's pretty easy to keep conversations about race age appropriate and appropriate to the developmental level of your child. So let's just go over a few facts about race and children. At birth, children look at faces of all races equally. By 3 months, they look at faces that match the race of their primary caregivers more intently and for longer times than faces of other races. By 2.5, children start selecting their playmate by race, and by 5, white children start selecting primarily, or continue selecting primarily white playmates, while their other peers choose playmates of a more diverse background. So already at 5 years old, a white child's social world and view is shrinking. By age 6, conversations about interracial friendships can improve their racial attitudes in as little as 1 week. So this work is very important to do early and often. Not talking about race means that the only way your kid is going to learn about race is from what they see from adults and what they see in the media. So in the media, the two black characters always get together in a Disney movie. The white girl always just has one black friend. There's always a black perp on a cop show. Luckily that's changing, but that's the dominant message that they're getting from, media at large and from their parents, because we grew up with that kind of media. Some people say that kids can't be racist, but here are some things that I have heard children say about black people. That they always get in trouble at school because they're bad. That their skin is the color of poop or it's dirty. That they talk with incorrect grammar. They take government money to pay for food but only buy unhealthy stuff. That they don't exercise and they get fat. That they have certain physical characteristics. That they don't like that kind of person. How many times have I heard a little kid look at a black person or just at me and say, I don't like that kind of person. And then the parent whisks them away and they get a timeout instead of a conversation about, how to approach that in a more appropriate way. Why is it important to talk about race with your kid? You are going through a lot of growing pains right now, I'm sure. Everybody in America right now is trying to educate themselves, trying to learn, trying to do better. And your job as a parent is to make your kid's life better and easier than your own. So let them do the hard growing while they're still young and flexible. This can be very hard for us as adults to process because our history lessons present slavery as something of the past that ended and then everything was okay. But what we don't learn is how slavery's echo is still ringing today. But for the sake of all the children in the world, let's talk about it. Racism thrives in silence. These discussions will not change your kid into someone you don't recognize. They will change your kid into someone that you wish you could have been. And that's what it's all about. So, talking about race with kids of all ages. Let's start with toddlers. It's not easy to have a coherent conversation with a 3-year-old, and I'm not asking you to try, but for children 3 and under, the best way to communicate about race is by showing, not telling. So being friendly to children of all races on the playground, saying hi to those kids' parents and making small talk. Your child is watching your social cues and how you respond to different kinds of people. Choose children's shows that have different kinds of people in them. Get them picture books with black characters and characters of other races, and let your child look at these books and explore them on your own without your own preconceived notions and prejudices of other races getting in the way. Just let them enjoy the books. For 3 to 5-year-olds, children in this group, as I'm sure you know if you have a kid in this bracket, they are obsessed with fairness, right? To little kids, fairness means equal. Like, we each get exactly 50% of a donut, and that's fair. But equality and justice are different. If two kids can't see over a fence, you don't give them both a little step stool. You give the taller kid a shorter stool, and the smaller kid gets the taller step stool. Opportunities arise every single day to differentiate between equality and justice in your home. You can read picture books featuring characters of other races and begin to talk about what they notice in these pictures. Acknowledge all of your child's objective observations, like, she has brown skin. And then ask questions if they make judgments. So if your child says, I don't like her brown skin, that can be really hard to hear as a parent, because you don't want to hear that your child has developed these prejudices by age 4, right? But a way to deal with this is to say, why don't you like her skin? And your kid will say, it looks dirty. And you would say, her skin isn't dirty, it's just a different color than yours, and I think that it's beautiful, because your approval really matters. So these are everyday ways to talk about race with kids under 5 or 6 without having a sit-down conversation where it's like 20 minutes and we need to learn about this. It's more an experiential, showing, not telling moment, correcting and redirecting as needed. For kids age 6 to 9, lead your conversation about race with questions. 6 to 9-year-olds are maturing very fast, but as their world opens up, it can be frightening, right? So be calm and reassuring, but tell the truth. So ask if they've noticed Black kids at school getting in trouble more than other kids, and talk about whether or not it's justified. Teach them that you won't be upset if they get in trouble at school for speaking up against a teacher if they're unjustly targeting a Black classmate. Ask them why they think the Black kids sit together at lunch. Ask them what they've heard about people with other colors of skin. Acknowledge the differences that they see between themselves and other people, but focus on what people have to offer and what you have in common. So yes, he does have brown skin. It's different from yours, but just as nice. Another thing I really like about him is that he's so good at drawing, and you guys both play soccer. You can talk about the police. Kids shows have the police being the good guys and then there are the bad guys. But in real life, there's a lot more nuance. So you can start to introduce the idea that sometimes the police do the wrong thing. Sometimes the teacher makes the wrong call and the wrong kid gets in trouble. And it's okay to speak up when you see something like that happening. There are plenty of really wonderful kids movies coming out now that feature a lot more characters of color, Black characters, Asian characters, Hispanic and Latinx characters. Most of us, people my age and older, did not really have the luxury of growing up with that much representation in media, so please take advantage of this amazing resource and watch Into the Spider-Verse with your kid. If your kids are older, tweens and teens, 10 and up, you could do an anti-racist book club. There are lots of chapter books about Black scientists and inventors that are pretty good, easy readers for kids under 14. I'm going to put a bunch of resources and information and links to different books in the description of this video. So anti-racist book club, reading about these Black pioneers. There are tons of amazing YA books by Black authors about Black characters and characters of other races that are out there. Buy those, read them every month, and then talk together during dinner time. You can discuss quotes. For example, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "A riot is the language of the unheard." What does your 15-year-old think about that quote? Let's see. I have my little notes right here. You can watch documentaries on the civil rights movement. A lot of those are available for free online or at your local library. And you can watch movies with Black actors telling Black stories. But I would definitely try to veer away from trauma porn, which is the term used to describe anything that exploits trauma for entertainment for obvious reasons. What can your teen do when they're stopped by the police with a Black friend? They can take down officer names and badge numbers and text them to someone in case their phone gets confiscated. They can film the police during the entire stop. They can announce that they will be remaining silent alongside their friend. And then lastly, to kind of conclude, I just want to finish with something that's appropriate for kids of all ages, which is finding kind ways to speak about bodies that look different from your child's, dispelling myths and stereotypes about other races, telling your child that it's not appropriate to touch someone else's hair or ask, "What are they?" and then also consuming media by and for and featuring a diverse group of people. You've had really hard conversations with your kid. You've talked about death and consent and bodies. This is not going to be any harder. It doesn't need to be the 25-minute long sit-down conversation that a lot of my friends who are parents have been worried about. Basically, it's taking responsibility for ensuring that the topic of race does come up in your home, and that when it does, you're giving your child the tools to move through the world in a compassionate and educated manner. Making sure that whatever challenges might come up, they're going to be ready to support the people who look different from them in their lives, treat them with respect, and also always be open to learning more. This is important work. Talk about this early and often, but most importantly, do talk about it. Good luck.